call the regular meeting of ISD 717 to order. It is Monday, April 14th. It is exactly 6:30 p.m. Could I please ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Deb Polly.
Here.
Molly Maniak. Lauren Pedersen.
Here.
Rob Langheim.
Here.
Corinne Hennon. Jenny Kuski.
Here.
Christina Olson.
Here.
Thank you. Consideration of the agenda. There are no changes to the agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Motion to approve is
Lauren,
published.
is there a second?
I second.
Christine, Christina, Chrissy, whoever you are. Chrissy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Nobody indicated they wanted to make public comments. So the next item on the agenda is the Jordan Pride Awards, and this is always, at least mine, and I'm sure your favorite part of these meetings also. And we have a wonderful lot of kids that we're going to be celebrating tonight. I want to personally thank all of the parents and extended family, and especially the students and the staff that work with these kids on a daily basis that help make you all such a great success. So we're really excited about celebrating you, and we will start with the middle school e-sport winners. So I will ask the advisors to come up, and all the students too, right?
You want middle school and high school?
No, we'll do just
middle
school for now. And then how we'll do this, and this is for all of you, after each of your individual segment of awards, I'm going to ask you to go back to our banner back there, and Elise Pickle right here will take a picture in between each of the presentations. So, gentlemen, if I can have you come on over here. Stand right in front of the screen so you can be seen very well by the public, and I will turn it over to their advisors.
Do you want to talk? You got it?
Yeah, So I'm Tyler, the head coach of the esports program. This year, we've kind of grown a lot. We added middle school this year, which is huge. I believe in the middle school sector, we are the biggest school like participating in the middle school group of schools, because it's a lot smaller of a group since it's a newer like division. But everybody's been great. They've been supportive, just like the group we work with, MNVL. And we've had a great turnout this year. Like I said, the biggest group of kids, and we've had some amazing players and students participate this year. So,
Yeah, I'll just add, in case you have no clue what esports is, they come after school at 3 o'clock, and then they compete in a certain video game. They get to choose between, they get to choose what game they want to compete in, but we had people competing in Smash Brothers on the Switch, Mario Kart on the Switch, Minecraft on the computer or PC, and then we had, what else? Am I missing something? Just those three for middle school, right? And chess, we had somebody, but then they didn't continue that. But so they come in after school and they practice, play video games, and maybe learn some skills and techniques and strategies to beat certain characters in Smash, or learn the maps better on Mario Kart, and then they go and compete against other schools. And it's super helpful. Tyler knows a lot about hooking up stuff online when things don't work properly. He's very good at troubleshooting, and the kids definitely know a lot more about the video game stuff than I do, but they were awesome. And so we had these guys and plus a couple others who competed at state. We had Wyatt Kite, Oscar Jerk, Lincoln Plath, Eli John, Peter Franklin, Charlie Hutchison, Jack Stahl, and Max Yantes. And then we had Yantis. Did I get it right? Yeah. Okay. And then we had in each game that they competed in, we had a team place third in each one at state for middle school. And we had Wyatt Kite and Oscar Jerk place third in Mario Kart. And then we had Lincoln Plath place third in Smash Brothers, and he also beat the guy who ended up getting first. He beat the guy who got first, and that was the guy who got first. It was the only loss was to Lincoln, but then he came back up in the later stages of the tournament and ended up defeating Lincoln. But the only loss from the first place guy was from Lincoln, right? Wasn't that right? Yeah. So that was pretty awesome. And then we had Charlie Hutchison, Eli John, and Jack Stahl got third in Minecraft. So that was our middle school players for esports.
So each of you will get a certificate, and then, like I said, immediately after this, go over there for your picture, and your advisors will pass these out as I call your name. But the awards all read: Jordan Pride Award is hereby presented to whoever your name, esports MNVL powered by Fenworks State Tournament participant, whose endeavor for excellence has shown character, determination, and hard work that represent the values of our school and our community. This is a small token of gratitude to say congratulations and thank you for being great role models to others. So our first winner is, recipient is Scott Callaway. And then if you want to just, when you get this, maybe step forward and hold the certificate in front of you so everybody knows who you are. Jackson Dahl. Stay up, you can stay up there for now. Show everybody. Peter Franklin. Rob Hutchinson. Oscar Jurek. Eli John. Wyatt Kite is not here, okay. Lincoln Plath. And Maxwell Yantas. Yantas. Yeah. Okay, congratulations, gentlemen. Great job. And next we have our high school e-sport state participants. And again, turn it over to the guys.
So our high school program has also grown this year compared to our last year as well. Not as much of a growth, but it's just a lot of the titles for high school are like bigger team games, and we're still trying to work on recruiting bigger teams for those bigger games. But the interest is definitely there. It's just we're trying to keep growing and keep recruiting. It just takes a lot of time. But we did have a lot of high schoolers attend the tournament as well as middle school. We didn't end up placing, but everybody had a lot of fun with the high school side, and we still managed to win like games and like a series or two at the high school level as well.
I love your shirts, by the way. Those are really cool. And again, the awards read the same. So Jacob Ciavari, Riley Furley, Jacob Noner, Gunnar Pulowski, Evan Roschel, and Devin Tran. All right, congratulations, gentlemen. Good job. What grades are you guys? 11? Okay, so we'll have you guys for a couple more years then. Yay, good job. Okay, head on back. Okay. 4th, 5th, and 6th grade honor choir. Okay, next we will be honoring our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade ACDA honor choir participants. And I'll turn it over to their teacher. Come on up if you are 4th, 5th, or 6th grade honor choir.
So this year we had 10 students in 5th and 6th grade participate and make ACDA honor choir. ACDA is American Choral Directors Association. It's not an association you have to be a part of to be a choral director. It's just something extra. So not every school participates in it, and it's not a paid thing. It's just something that we can do to give kids extra opportunity to sing. So we had a bunch of kids, it was probably 20-ish audition, and we had 10 make it. Up here we have, hold on, Meyer Kruger, Max Yantis, Axel Elliott, Sydney Wignall, Olivia Seifert, Jolene Grover, and Malie Senazal. And then who's not here? We have some that aren't. Oh yeah, Clara McCracken. Who am I looking at? And Peyton Hennon. Did I get them all? They're on the screen. So what this consists of, they audition with me. They record a scale going up and down, and then they record a little snippet of the song Dona Nobis Pacem. They send it in. I send it in, and then music teachers score it. And they score on a variety of different things. The intonation, whether it's in pitch, their vowel shapes, their diction, whether how well they pronounce the words, their musicality. And then it gets scored, and if they score high enough, they get selected to participate. Not every student makes it. Obviously, we had 10 or so that didn't make it. But I just want to say, out of these 10 that did make it, if I was scoring when I send them in, I always make sure before I send them in that these are all auditions that I would score high. Not every music teacher hears the same as I do, so they score slightly different, and unfortunately, not every student gets to make it, which stinks. I always tell them we have to have a good audition, which I make sure that happens, and then we have to cross our fingers and make sure that the 2 people that are scoring their audition also like the way they sing. So it's a little subjective, but these are all awesome singers, even the ones that didn't make it, and even the kids in Jordan that didn't audition for honor choir. There's lots of talent here at Jordan Public Schools. Just got to keep encouraging them to sing and participate in as much as they can. So, yeah, and they rehearsed a few Saturdays ago, and they started at 9 a.m. in the morning, rehearsed all morning, had a little lunch break, rehearsed in the afternoon, and then they had a concert at 5:30-ish, and their concert was the first concert I didn't get to see because I was on a Disney cruise, so that was pretty awesome. But I heard from the kids and parents that they did an awesome job, and I'll get to hear the recording once that gets sent to me. But yeah, a lot of singing in one day, and hopefully they had a excellent experience in that honor choir. So.
Okay. Congratulations to you, and we look forward to seeing you as you move through 4th, 5th, 6th grade up on into high school and to be in the high school choir. We just know you're great role models, and yeah, so thank you. So the first award goes to Malie Senazal, Alex Elliott, Jolene Grover, Peyton Hennon is not here, Meyer Kruger, Clara McCracken, Olivia Seifert, Josie Warmka, Sydney Wignall, and Maxwell Yantis. Okay. Congratulations to you. Good job, you guys. And head on over for the picture. Okay. 7th and 8th grade honors choir, come on up. ACDA honor choir.
So these guys as well, these are all 8th graders. I had a 7th grader who made an alternate, which is, again, super hard. So if somebody makes it, not everybody's able to afford the fee that goes along with participating in that. So again, I want to thank you guys for allowing that to happen, because I have the families pay the audition fee, which is usually, I think it's $16, but then if they are accepted, the fee to participate is like $115 or something like that, and that is paid by Jordan School. So I want to thank you guys a lot for that, because there are some students who that would exclude from participating. If parents saw a $115 fee for one day of singing, they would probably nix that, most of them. So thank you for that. Thank you for that opportunity. And again, just like these 8th graders, I had a lot of 7th graders and other 8th graders audition who are amazing singers who unfortunately didn't didn't get a high enough score, even though in my book, if I was scoring them, they're all honor choir material. They're all super good. Even kids that didn't audition, very good singers here at Jordan School. So thank you for sending all of your kids and continuing to encourage them to participate in choirs. It's a very, it's a fun experience for them. And it's good for them to experience and sing with others who are motivated in choir as they are and can excel in that area. So these are our singers here. I think we have them all here. We do. Nice. We have Katie Quapple. Huh? Oh, and my son made it, but he goes to New Prague. Yeah. But yeah, no big deal. So yeah, Katie Quapple. We have Claire Yantis. We have Cami Ritter. We have Ezra Gens, Porter Jones, and Ethan Fisher, who made it the 7-8 honor choir. And their schedule was exactly the same. They rehearsed at 9 all morning, all afternoon, and then they had a concert at 5:30. That one I was there for, and they were both amazing. There was a SSA choir, soprano 1, soprano 2, and alto. And then there was a CTB choir, which is cambiato, which is changing voice, and then tenors and baritones or bass. And just both amazing choirs. Song selections was amazing. Their conductors were fantastic. And I assume and I think they had a wonderful time because they looked like they were singing their hearts out on stage when they were there. So thanks so much for that opportunity, and there they are.
Thank you. So I just want to say this, hands down, I will put Jordan's music program up against any district in the state of Minnesota. We have incredible teachers in both band and choir, and the quality and the depth of the kids in our program are just amazing. So hands down, we have a great program here. So I look forward to you guys continuing on as you head through the rest of middle school into high school. So first we have Ethan Fisher, Ezra Jens, Porter Jones, Katie Quafill, Cameron Ritter, and Claire Yentes. Congratulations. Okay. Next, we are moving on to the South Central Minnesota Band Directors Association.
5, 6, and 7 all.
What do we have here?
You have.
I have Olivia Harris and.
Oh, so that's 5th grade. Okay, so 5th grade.
So you just those three?
Sure, if that's what you have, then yeah,
Okay.
we can do one at a
Okay.
time. Yep.
Yes. So I'll let you call
Do we
them up.
have?
and-
Yep. Do we have Olivia, Harrison, and Evan? Not sure if they're all able to make it. Oh, Olivia's getting her picture taken for. Or no, she already did that. She's still here. Maybe not. Are they all gone? I'll talk about them anyway.
Okay.
So, or do you want to have 6th
ahead.
graders come up maybe, and
Oh,
we'll do.
sure. Aubrey,
So we have Bryce, Aubrey, Olivia, Emerson, Oscar, Ezra, and Charles.
okay, those are your 6th graders?
Yeah.
Okay, 6th graders.
Yep,
come on
I'll
up.
talk about both grades at once.
Okay.
So we have 8 6th graders and 3 5th graders who are selected to participate in the South Central Minnesota Band Directors Association Honor Band. The 5th graders will be in the beginning honor band, and the 6th graders will be in the second year honor band. And that's going to be the first Saturday in May. And these guys just found out on Friday that they got accepted. So they're super excited, and some of them are already working on the music. The selection process for the honor bands that we go to at Jordan Middle School is different than the honor choir system of selection. So they didn't have to audition, but it goes by director recommendation. And the way I do that is I look at interest and ability and, just being an all-around great band member locally that I think will do a really good job of representing Jordan when they go to another school. And so then I can nominate up to 10 students in each grade, and then a selection committee looks at those, and they have a limited number of students that they can fit on the stage, first of all, and then within that they have a certain number that they want on each instrument. So they take as many as they can from each school, but unfortunately they always have to turn some away, which is the only sad part about honor band. So these guys get to do that in a few weeks. They get to go to Chanhassen High School, and they'll play in a band with students from lots of other schools in our area with a guest conductor, and then they give a concert at noon, so that should be super fun. The fifth graders who were selected, which I don't think any of them are here right now, but they are Olivia Seifert on percussion, Harrison Dolly on clarinet, and Evan Virigi on trombone. They're all doing amazing. And then these guys are sixth graders, so they'll be in the second year band. And we have Bryce Bonesock, Aubrey Parrott, and Olivia Faw all on clarinet. Olivia Tui on saxophone, Emerson Schultz on trumpet, Oscar Jurek on trombone, Ezra Kraus and Charles Myers on percussion. So great job, guys. Congratulations on being accepted.
Before I read off your names, I think, and before too many people leave, I want to give a shout out to the teachers, the coaches, and the advisors that work with these students year round. Thank you. I know that you put a lot of extra time and effort into it, and just as a board, we want to acknowledge you and thank you for that very, very much. So. Okay, so again, we had Olivia Seifert, Harrison Dolly, and Evan Virigi, fifth graders. Okay, now we have Aubrey Parrott, Bryce Bonesock, Olivia Poe, Olivia Tui, Emerson Schultz, Oscar Jurek, Charles Meyer, and Ezra Kraus. Congratulations. Thank you. And next we have seventh and eighth.
Yep.
So we have seventh and eighth grade honor bands.
We'll do there's also the UMD honor band. Can we do that one at the same time? Sure. Too? Okay, so these two participated in different honor bands. There was the South Central Minnesota Band Directors Association 7th and 8th grade honor band, which was at Chaska High School on a Saturday in February. And at that one, we had Odin Siemens on trombone and Jalen Pivick on trumpet. And then we had, at the UMD Junior High Honor Band in Duluth, we had Chloe Ruland. And the selection process for this was the same as that I just mentioned for the 5th and 6th grade. So I nominate students, and then there's a selection committee that takes as many of them as they can. And these guys did an awesome job and represented Jordan really well, and I hope they had fun. Did you guys have fun? Yeah, all right, cool. So great job, guys.
Okay, so we have Jalen Pivick and Odin Siemens and Chloe Ruland. Congratulations. For a picture, congratulations. And I believe this is you. Yes. And we have one final award, and we'll have Mr. Burnside talk about it.
Hello. So I get to talk about Riley Steinhaus, and I'm really looking forward to this because Riley does not like to be put on the spotlight like this. Riley is a senior in the band and is just absolutely fantastic. She was selected to be part of the Minnesota Music Educators All-State Association All-State Band this last year. So a little over a year ago, she put in a whole bunch of time and energy to prepare an audition. The audition process for the All-State Band is extremely rigorous. It's not something like, oh, wake up and audition today. It's maybe training for the Olympics is too strong of a metaphor, but you have to do it with intent, and it takes time, and you get tested a lot. And Riley completed the race in that way, submitted an audition, was selected to be in the band. Like I said, very, very rigorous. Over the summer last year, she went to the All-State Camp, which was up in Concordia, and she spent the week up there and rehearsed, prepared music, worked with guest conductors, stayed in the dorms, gave a concert, recorded. There was a recording from that week, and then this just about a month and a half ago at the the Music Educators Association conference, the All-State Band performed at Orchestra Hall. So she got to perform on the Orchestra Hall stage, which is super, super cool. Riley, just a quick couple words about Riley. What makes Riley so cool is she is a actions over words kind of gal. She's not going to necessarily stand up here and tell you what to think or do. She's just going to show you what to do and how to do it, and do it at a really, really high level. She's extremely humble, super gritty. She's gritty, yeah. Has a great work ethic, and I think music has had a really awesome impact in her life, and she's headed to St. Olaf next fall, and yeah, just super excited for her. So there we are. There's Riley, the best.
Great. So congratulations, Riley. Riley Steinhaus. So. Best to you at St. Olaf. Okie dokie. Well, congratulations to all of our state participants and winners. Okay, our next item of business is our consent agenda. We have the minutes from the March meetings. We have our monthly finance reports that Ms. Haferman prepared for us. We have the donations. Let's see, the donations are Mighty Cause from Mighty Cause for the JES backpack program, $45. Wolf Motors for Scott West Fishing, $500. Cox Construction, Scott West Fishing, $150. And Merchant 29, Scott West Fishing, $150. We have let's see, we have policies, 8 policies that we went through at our last policy meeting. Matters of employment, we have new hire Kayla Whitehead for our speech and language pathologist at an MA2, and Ann Lundborg at a speech and language pathologist for the ELS. She's at an MA9. We had several assignment changes. Those are listed in your packet. And then we had the resignation of Ariana Quiros, paraprofessional special ed in the middle school, and resignation of Michelle Armstrong, first grade teacher at the elementary school. And that is it. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Motion to approve.
Lauren, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Rob. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to our action items. Review and act on the overnight trip request for the 2027 Spanish Club trip to Puerto Rico. Ms. Peters.
Hola, buenas noches. Vamos a tener mi discusión en español. ¿Está bien? Hola.
We got it.
I just want to start off by first saying thank you so much for all the support over the years. I was reflecting back today in preparation of I need to go talk to them tonight, and looking at all the trips we've taken, and even this fall when we talked about Peru, and I could show pictures of kids that our students know, or they kind of know and actually speak from personal experience, and have that enrich myself as a teacher. So from my perspective, thank you very much for continuing to allow me to educate myself as a Spanish teacher, and for allowing our students to be able to go out and experience real life Spanish and culture. It's always an exciting adventure. So this summer we go to Ecuador, and again, thank you for approving that one. Kids are getting super excited. They want to go see turtles and all the other things. So that one's exciting. And we are 2 years out from the next trip. So I'm here to ask permission to take students to Puerto Rico. We will travel a lot of the island. We start in San Juan, which is the capital. We get to tour the old San Juan and the new San Juan, so seeing some of the historic buildings and the newer things. We get to go to a beach and to the rainforest. I believe it's the only rainforest that is part of the United States. We go to Ponce, so the capital is on the top. Oh, directions are so difficult. The northeastern part, Ponce is like the exact opposite, so southwestern. So we travel most of the island, going to Ponce coffee plantation and visiting that city, and then we go back up north. And we get to go to bioluminescent bay at night and see all of the algae that light up, which is some scientific phenomena that I don't really understand. We get to go to an island as well. This trip does not include a host family stay, which is the only bummer about it because it's really fun to have kids stay with families. So it's seven days and 6 nights. Cost is approximately $3,700. Part of why I asked to get approval now is so that we can fundraise, because over the course of 2 years, should you not want to pay out of pocket, we have enough fundraisers that you really wouldn't have to. In a nutshell, that's kind of what we're looking at. Do you guys have questions for me?
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
Motion to approve?
Okay, now I'll open it up for discussion. Questions, comments?
Can I go with you?
So,
I see 1 to 6 chaperones. How many kids are going?
yeah, so until we have signups, we won't know. We do have a chaperone process that is sometimes rigorous. So if you have a student going, you get put in the pot first. If we don't have enough parent chaperones, then I would definitely come to you, for sure. Yeah. Other questions?
How many kids are going this summer?
This summer, we are at 2021. We started with over 30, but Ecuador had an election, and there was some shifting with the politics, so things were a little bit, if we reflect back to January 6th here when we had the storming of the Capitol, that happens at most elections, so things were a little bit up in the air, and some families were not comfortable. But our travel company was comfortable having us go. So our numbers are lower this year. I would guess this trip will probably have close to 40.
Okay. Questions, comments?
I think it's a great opportunity. I like that I appreciate and I'm thankful that you take the time to plan all these trips for these students, because I do have a couple of parents that come up and think and sit and comment on what a great opportunity it is. I, for one, traveled with Amy, and she's really good at corralling kids and getting them engaged. We went on a whale watching tour, and she got all the boys dancing on the boat. So she's really good at corralling kids and keeping them going and finding fun activities for them to do and things like that. Even though it wasn't a school-sponsored trip, it was still fun.
Thank you.
Good. Other questions or comments? I presume that insurance on the trip is an optional thing, or is it?
Yep, we always recommend travel insurance just in case something last minute happens. Like this year, the state track tournament switched dates kind of at the last minute, and so we had at least one participant back out because of that. So we always recommend it, but it's not required.
Okay. Okay, ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of approving the 2027 Spanish trip to Puerto Rico signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Gracias.
Safe, fun travel planning. Okay, review and act on the 2026 JHS Band and Choir trip. And just FYI, Renee and I are going.
Yes. Well, and that's, so we're looking to go to, we are planning to go to New York next year. We'd like to take a band and choir trip every 2 years. This last year, we did Chicago in the middle of January. It was a great trip, but it was that one time where Chicago shut down because of the snow. So, lesson learned, maybe that's not the best time. But this one is. We did New York City in 2018. It was the largest, to my knowledge, the largest extended overnight trip at the high school level. We had about 174 kids go. Mr. Visner went. 4 buses. We bussed out there. But it was awesome. It was awesome. We saw all the sights and sounds of New York that you'd expect. Performed at a school that teaches blind students, and that was, for so many kids, that was a highlight for them. They were like, yeah, I saw the Statue of Liberty, but we did that, and we're going to do those things again on this trip. So we're going to alternate here a little bit, but looking at right at the start of spring break for next year, it's that like Thursday to maybe Monday, Thursday to Tuesday. We've got a range of dates, and then we're going to kind of work with the travel company to see if there's any price cut for like leaving on a Thursday, for instance, versus a Friday. I don't know. The difference between driving out there, we've bussed for all of our trips in the past. We're probably going to fly because the difference is within $100 or $200. And when you factor in that you're busing additional distance, like it's basically the same thing because you'd have additional costs for meals and things like that. And you get to fly. So that just makes everything more efficient. So no one's going to complain about that. I was going to complain about that. Carrie's going to talk a little bit about fundraising, just to give you an overview.
All right. Well, in my vast experience here at Jordan High School, just kidding, it's only 6 months in, but my vast experience here tells me that in the past, all students who have wanted to go on one of these trips have been able to do that. There's never been anybody turned away, and we anticipate and plan that that will continue to be the case. We do run 2 to 3 fundraisers a year. Next year we'll do a fall fundraiser with the popcorn, coffee cocoa, our winter fruit fundraiser, and then run that one again, the fall one again in the spring. And many of these kids have had the opportunity really since 7th grade to be doing some fundraising, and so they've been, those funds have been accumulating in their accounts. We seek out, work with students who want to travel but might have trouble meeting the costs. Yeah, it's, what did I miss?
That's it. You got it all. You got it all. In case you're curious, we've been getting some quotes. Most of our trips have been with performance tours. We did one with Bob Rogers last year. Both were great. We'll probably go with performance tours again just because we've got the longer relationship there. Itinerary is probably the most exciting thing. The 9/11 Memorial Museum and the 9/11 Memorial, Chinatown, Little Italy, head out to the Statue of Liberty. We'll probably perform on the Intrepid, which is the aircraft carrier that's docked there. It's a museum, but it's also a performance location. The choir will probably perform at St. John the Divine, which is a fantastic place. Broadway workshop. I'm just going to go ahead and jump out and say it. You want to say it? You're not going to brag about it. Carrie's got a former student on. Carrie's got a former student on Broadway. And
wow.
He's playing Jay Gatsby in Gatsby. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what I mentioned, the possibility is there for some sort of connection, even if it's a wave or something.
Wave at the stage door.
A wave at the stage door. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah,
I'll shoot him an email.
Shoot him. Hey, you remember me? Yeah, tour of the United Nations. I mean, you can read. So. Yeah, we're excited. These are many of the things that we did last time, plus some additional recommendations from the travel companies, and I think.
And my daughter, who was just there with her high school choir a couple of weeks ago, and they did basically the same trip, and they had a spectacular time. So.
Yeah, and then probably the other thing wondering about is travel insurance. The travel company has some options. We encourage parents to look at other insurance options. Like my understanding, they're kind of one and the same. It comes down to 2: cancel for any reason, and then a just general, there has to be some sort of interruption. So we push for the cancel for any reason and encourage people to do that because it just gives you the most flexibility. So, yeah.
It's exciting. Okay, I will entertain a motion.
A motion to approve.
Jenny, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Rob. Okay, questions, discussion?
Can I go with you guys?
Well,
I think everybody can.
I mean, we'll probably just be spectators, but whatever. Hey,
We can get a companion board.
I was going to say,
go.
companion board
Fly
gives you the
alongside.
flexibility to come say hi, but then the freedom to go do whatever, No.
Just so you know, that back in the day when my kids were in school, we did Disney a lot, or Florida, and I'm a pretty good chaperone. I got to go on all of them.
Oh, for sure.
Spent many a night sitting up all night.
Yeah.
I think it's great you're flying too.
Yeah, I do too.
Not all students get that opportunity with their families, and I think that's a good, they all ride a bus or
Yeah.
have had
Yeah.
That's true.
But I will say, not that I'm lobbying for the bus thing. Kids, they are surprised afterwards. Actually, that bus ride was a lot of fun. And I think it's just it's one of those things. It's who you're with, not necessarily where you are.
Right.
So, but yes, I'm excited to fly too.
Well, I'm just appreciative that you guys take the opportunity to take kids because they won't have that opportunity at some time, and I'm glad that our school can figure out a way to make that work for all families.
Yes.
So thank you for planning it.
Yep.
Yes.
The Florida trip, what I'll never forget is we were at Daytona Beach on a day where it was about 55 degrees, and the number of kids who had never seen the ocean and still went swimming.
Yeah.
In 55, it was 25, it was today.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'm in. Because that was, some of them had never been out of state before.
Yeah.
For them to have that opportunity and to first time seeing the ocean and to jump in the ocean and, I had nothing, I was like, I'm good. Oh, you're this special. No,
Yeah.
it's just the opportunity
was 2018, so it was even longer than that. 6 years ago. Yeah,
Are you going
So-
again, Jeff? Chaperone?
It's apparently
Everybody's going. Steven's going. Who's going to stay here and run the place?
chaperone too.
I like students.
I'll chaperone.
Students last time.
So one of the years that I chaperoned, one of the students, he was kind of the next nut of the group, climbed a palm tree, not knowing that when you slide down a palm tree, you get splinters out. We spent hours pulling splinters out of this poor kid. Yes.
You never know what you're
You never know, but it was
Yeah,
great.
this is true. This is true.
It was great.
Life lesson.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Sounds like you're gonna have a lot of people going.
That's the plan.
Oh.
That's the plan.
All those in favor of approving the band trip, 2026 JHS band trip to New York signify, band and choir trip to New York signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you,
Happy
thank you, thank you.
planning. Thank you, thank you. Okay, review and act on the annual activity fees. Mr. Butine.
All right, good evening, Board. Before I get rolling here, I'm just going to hand you a couple of pieces of information that'll supplement a little bit of what I have to talk about. So I'll just start each one with you, Renee. We'll stagger them a little bit so we don't get backed up here. So you'll end up with a total of 3 single sheets there, and Christina, if you don't mind, just set them on the table next to you, and I'll come and grab them here in a few minutes. As those are getting out to you, one of the items that you had in your prep materials was an executive summary of our proposed activities, fees, schedule, and changes, also including ticket fees, prices for activity passes, and so on and so forth. So just going to talk with you a little bit about the logic of what we're proposing here tonight for our next academic year, 2025-2026. We are proposing essentially what amounts to a $25 per registration increase, I would say across the board. There are a couple of exceptions that I've outlined in there, which would include crew for plays and musicals, both at the high school and middle school levels, and then Math Masters, which is a program for our 4th and 5th graders. Aside from that, whether it's a middle school or a high school activity, we would propose a $25 increase. Each of the activities are listed out individually for you on that executive summary between the first couple of pages. There are also some other fees that would jump out at you. Those are more than likely for our co-op opportunities through Prior Lake and Shakopee. So those would be things like our swimming programs, boys tennis, lacrosse. In those cases, we simply pass along whatever the registration fee is at that particular host school. So we really don't play any role in necessarily setting those. Before I get into tickets and activity passes and so forth, I'll just touch a little bit on activity fees. I see you scanning some of the documents that I handed to you. That's just some research that Krista, my administrative assistant, and I compiled around whether they be neighboring schools, similar schools, other schools in the Wright County Conference. And what you'll see is there isn't a particularly discernible pattern. The numbers, frankly, are all over the board. We are not, necessarily on the lowest of the low end, and we're nowhere near the highest of the high end. You can see some schools in particular that have gone through budget reductions in recent years. Prior Lake comes to sort of the forefront of my mind with that. They're up in the 300s, and we see that with our co-op opportunities with them, where we pass along that registration fee. Mound West Tonka is in the mid 200s. That's another relatively like school for us. There's just a really wide range. And so what our goal was to do some comparison on that, but then also understanding that we had some ground to make up just to cover what we can of our annual expenses on a program by program standpoint, And when I say that, I'm mostly talking about the cost of transportation, the cost of hiring officials to officiate events, the cost of our equipment and supplies, the cost of our athletic uniforms. We've seen all of those things increase over the span of years, certainly since we last set our activity fees at the rates that they're currently at, but particularly acutely, within the last couple of years. And so really what this is simply an attempt to do the best that we can in the activities department to try to keep up with those rising costs. We're maybe a year or two behind on when we could, you could argue, should have done this. But I do feel that it's time to at least promote a modest raise in our activities fees. And really, we settled on $25 in part because we feel that that's a number that's not necessarily going to provide sticker shock, but it's also not one that's going to lead us to a year from now, 2 years from now, having to go back and raise our fees again. We don't necessarily want to be doing that on an annual basis either. So that's kind of the place at which we've positioned ourselves in terms of activities fees. Partnered with that then are ticket prices and activity passes. So ultimately, what do we charge folks to attend our events? Well, and actually, I'll pause real briefly before that, and I'll just touch on our family maxes because those are actually related to activity fees that folks pay to participate, not our ticket prices. But we did also propose at each of our levels of our family maxes a $50 per level increase, which is just to account then for, not even quite a 100% adjustment to account for those $25 per registration increases. So our folks that are falling into our family max category will continue to see a benefit from having hit that mark, even with that raise of $50 per level. Our ticket fees stand at $5 and $7. I'm not recommending an increase to those at this time. If you take a look at what people pay for tickets across the Wright County Conference, every school is at $5 and $7. There are folks in our community who pay a single game by ticket prices. It's by no means only activity passes that folks are getting in with, but many of our locals are purchasing those activity passes, and so what that means is a lot of the single game, single event tickets that we sell are to folks from communities outside of Jordan. And so I don't know that we're best positioned to ruffle feathers or rock the boat from a conference standpoint and necessarily be the only school to bump it up to 6 and 8 or whatever have you to try to squeeze a few extra dollars out of folks that are coming into our community. I could see that being a conversation conference-wise. From a budget standpoint, we're of course nowhere close to the only school that's trying to make up a little bit of ground, so I could see that being a conversation point in the near future, but for this year, recommending that our single event ticket fees stay where they're at 5 and 7, 5 being for students and 7 for adults. Season passes, we also made some small incremental increases at each of those levels. A $10 increase in the cost of student and adult activity passes, and then a $25 increase in our family activity passes. Again, just an opportunity to raise just a little bit of additional revenue from folks who are attending our events, which would help us to keep up a little bit on costs that it takes to run those events, whether it be purchases for ancillary concession materials or being able to provide an adequate pay rate for our game day staffing so that we can keep folks working at our events versus doing other things with their extra time. So that's kind of the lay of the land. I'm, of course, here and happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure procedurally if we need to have a motion in order to do that, but...
are we acting on the annual fees and on, this is the only action item, just the annual fees, right? Or the fees? Yeah, so let's entertain a motion. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
You're entertaining? I'll second it then.
Okay, then. Okay, I'll motion, Lauren seconds. Okay, now we'll open it up for discussion and questions. So I just want to be clear for the public's sake that are watching and anybody here, that there's a mechanism so that we never deny a kid an opportunity.
Absolutely.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so there are a couple of different ways in which we do that. The first step would be we have a special considerations rate, which is 50% of what our regular activities fee. And historically speaking, we've used the term free and reduced lunch. We don't really use that anymore because of state legislation that provides that opportunity for all students. But folks who might fit into that category, they register at the special considerations rate. And then beyond that, we also have an opportunity at scholarship where we have folks register at the family max rate, and that can exempt them from paying a registration fee for sports. Yeah, we or activities, I should say. We won't be turning folks away from participating.
Thank you. Okay, I'll open it up for questions.
How do parents find out and students find out about that special consideration? And like how many people are participating?
As far as like what our participation rates at those rates of registration are,
Yes.
or just knowing what the fees happen to be?
I guess kind of both. Like, are parents and students aware that if they can't afford it, they can do that? What is that mechanism that makes them aware of it? And then how many students, what's the percentage of students that participate in athletics and activities that end up utilizing those services?
Sure. So the first part of the question, how do folks know about it? I discuss it every fall at my parent-athlete coach meeting that all participants are expected to attend. So we give them that verbally. My slides from that are both posted on our jordanactivities.org website and then also distributed to our head coaches. So those are some of the mechanisms by which we distribute that information. And then we do get folks that say, I'd like to register for this event, but I can't afford it. So then we have that informal conversation and make them aware of it at that time. But those are kind of the mass pieces of it. I don't have the percentage of special considerations, registrations off the top of my head. I would say it's 10%, perhaps less. Okay. It's not a significant percentage of our registrations.
Okay, do we find that people who want to participate are actually utilizing those services? I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is, do we know that everybody is aware of it and are they utilizing it and is everybody participating? Because I too don't want people
Yep.
to not participate because we're raising fees.
Yeah, I feel confident that we have word out in the community that folks know of those opportunities, know of our philosophy that we're going to have kids participating and that cost is not going to be an obstacle. I've worked with a couple of coaches this year just connecting kids to those opportunities, including our baseball coach has a couple of new to the country participants who don't speak a word of English, and they're working with a para to get themselves registered, and we're working through that experience. So it's great. But yes, we're doing everything that we can to connect everybody who wants to participate with that opportunity.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments?
So is the max individual amount, it says junior high is $325, but then it says for the family, for one student is $425? Is that just because it's a high school rate?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And then is that automatically calculated, or do families have to pay attention to that?
You need to register with the Family Max rate, but Krista does keep track of it. So the worst that will happen is you would over-register and then be refunded after she goes back and takes a look.
Okay, so she does watch it?
Yep.
Okay.
Other comments or questions?
Yeah, and Chris, yeah, so the last time we raised registration fees, I believe would have been for the 2018-2019 academic year. So in the grand context of, how often do our fees go up, it's been a pretty good while.
Is it because the busing costs have gone up so much? What do you think the main
Yep, so
that has caused?
Anything and everything that we spend on has increased. Coaches, their stipends raise very modestly because they're a part of our teacher contract, and that's not a huge expense, but everything else really. So transportation, you had mentioned, equipment that we have to purchase to participate, whether it's basketballs to football pads and helmets. To the cost of officials is a big one. We're just unfortunately not in a position with any leverage with officials associations right now, to be quite honest. High school level officials are rare and getting rarer. And so those costs from our officials assigners increase seemingly on an annual basis, whether it's actually the per game rate or whether we're now paying mileage for officials to come to our venues. So really anything that we spend on, those costs have been increasing. and will continue to do so as far as I could forecast.
I also want to point out, though, that these fees don't cover the costs
Yeah.
by any way, shape, or form associated to how much it costs to run a program.
Correct.
Whatever extra we need, we either comes from the Booster Club through their donation process or through the general fund.
Yep.
So these fees don't cover
Really what,
anything.
Hate to like put it on the family and the kids. You know what I mean? Like I
I
want them to participate, and I want I know it has to be I know it doesn't cover it, but I'm just wondering does the booster club could they provide more of
Our booster club provides thousands and thousands of dollars a year to offset the fee of this. We haven't raised fees, I believe, since 2018, 2019. I've been here 5 years. We never have. To John's point earlier, I feel, and I agree with you, that is why we haven't raised the fees since 2018, 2019, because we're so intentional in trying to be supportive of families and understanding that. But 2018, 2019, costs have changed significantly. And a huge thanks to our Booster Club, who does help a ton in offsetting all of that. But I think everybody agrees we never want to put it on the backs of families, but we haven't done anything with our fees since 2018, 2019. That's a really long time.
And we have, like he said, and he explained how we have that mechanism to those families that need that help, that we're never going to turn a student away, ever, that wants to participate, ever.
I mean, as a point of context, if you want to look at the average inflation rate in the U.S., 1.2% in 2020, 4.7% in 2021, 8% in 2022, 4.12% in 2023. We're talking about a very nominal increase.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it from a relative perspective of inflation to what the absolute number is, we're still very much below kind of what the standard of what a $20, $25 cost
Yep.
would be.
And if you look at some of that comparison data from other places, the $25 increase really keeps us kind of in the middle of everybody. It's not something that moves us towards being an outlier on the higher end in any respect.
Okay, any further
when we've
questions?
I just have
Chrissy?
one question, yeah.
Sorry.
When we've done increases, and maybe this is nobody's here that knows this, but has that affected numbers at all? Like, have you seen any kind of little drop off of students, even with all of this, scholarships and stuff like that out there that's available? Do you see a drop off?
So I haven't been in this seat once, when we've made one of those transitions. Looking back at our historical participation data, though, there's no clear trend that's visible in looking at those numbers that's related to participation costs. That's also kind of right in the COVID era, which is a totally different dynamic, which kind of throws off our data. Many people chose not to participate, either because they were concerned about people participating or because they participated in other things that were more aggressive than what the state high school league allowed. So it kind of skews our data right from that point where we last raised fees. So sorry, I'm not sure I have a great answer for that one.
Further comments or questions? Thank you for compiling all this. So we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor of approving the changes to the structure signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, 2028 grad honors update. Mr. Visner.
Thank you. Good evening. So what I'm going to present on is just our honors presentation and how we do our honors. So I'm going to talk about a couple different things. One is how we currently honor a valedictorian, salutatorian, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and a tie-in piece to that, which they're really not able to be separated. They can, but it's best if we put these two things together, is weighted grading. And so I'm going to talk about both pieces and kind of share how we got to where we're at. I know that most of you, when we had our workshop day, I talked about this already there. And actually, if you want to hit the slides there, we've been talking about this. The first time I brought this up was in 2019 and talked about my concerns with our valedictorian, salutatorian, because I was seeing what it was doing to our students and their mental health. Came back to it in 2021. As other people have mentioned, it was COVID and coming out of COVID, and just kind of looking at it. And now coming back to it again, mainly because there's some new challenges we're facing in 2025 with some state legislation, and just a changing and shifting in what students are focusing on. So I'm going to kind of go through some different steps, and then I'm going to give you a proposal or what I believe would be best for our students and our school. So here are some of those concerns. Number one, students are taking classes that they don't need for college and are just interested in them to just boost their GPA. There's a game going on, and we're already hearing it. Ms. Enstead talked to me last Friday with students that are sophomores. They're saying, I'm sorry, I can't take choir because it's going to hurt my GPA. And they're worried about becoming valedictorian, salutatorian. That's not what we want for our students. We want them to be well-rounded. I have a story from about 2017, 2018, our valedictorian. I was sitting down and talking to her, highlights, lowlights, what was school like, and she said, I really wish I could have taken a foods class. And I said, why didn't you? And she said, because it would have hurt my GPA. Like, that's not where we want to be. So that's one piece. Also, some students are avoiding some electives and areas of interest through the class not being weighted GPA, same idea. Students are avoiding classes they might find fun because it would lower their GPA. Talked about that already. This is a big one, the mental health issues. I can just think of at least 2 years where we had students who are valedictorian and they're moving along, and we name at the end of third quarter because of just the mechanism for it. And that student at the end of the year, one year, the student was actually 9th ranked student at the end. Like, this student just fell apart at the end of the year because of the pressure of keeping that, maintaining that, all those different pieces, and they fell apart. And so there's a mental stress that goes with this too. And I'm really concerned about that. We're just seeing high achieving students that are hyper focused on their GPAs. And I'm all for our students striving to be the best they can be. But when it becomes, I'll only take this class, this class, this class because that'll help my GPA, and I'm not going to take this class because, not because it won't enrich me, but because it will hurt my GPA, that's the wrong thing we're focusing on. And when we're starting to hear 9th graders even talking about it, it just really concerns me. And then the last thing here, my concern is state laws requiring weighted grades for PSEO classes, no matter the rigor or the relevance. And I use this is a true class at one of our local universities that we have students do PSEO through, and it is fitness yoga. And that fitness yoga class, which is an online class, by the way, actually it's not online, it's actually an asynchronous class. So I don't know how you grade that or whatever, but a student would get the same GPA credit as somebody taking our AP chemistry class. And to me, that's wrong. That's just not that's just not fair. So students already taking PSEO classes over CE classes. So what we would see, I believe, in this situation too, I'll just name it, our CE World History class is a difficult class. And we would see our students quit taking that class to take it somewhere else to get that GPA bump without taking it from our students and growing and learning. I can speak from my own experience. My daughter took the CE Lit class. It was probably the hardest class she took at Jordan High School. And she came back and told me at least 3 or 4 times that it was a huge class for her at Gustavus and taught her critical thinking, critical reading, and how to write and analyze things. So it was well worth it for her from a standpoint of her moving on. So those are my concerns. Elise? So I've done surveys 2 different times when I proposed this before. And do you have a valedictorian? And you'll notice that more and more people are moving away from it. So our data just says that less people or fewer people are putting that valedictorian. They're doing other things. And I'm going to share with you a way that I think we can honor our students doing well.
Hey, Jeff, who's your sample set?
I used surrounding schools, like our Wright County. And
different
so in
high schools, different
2018,
districts.
it probably would have been more the old Minnesota River Conference, because those would have been our people I was communicating with the most. And then in 2022, it would have been moving towards our Wright County Conference.
So these are all Minnesota-based?
Yep, all Minnesota-based, yeah.
Cool.
And we also have a principals association that we can send out different things like this too. So then I actually think the 2022 survey, I stole somebody else's, because somebody else was asking that same question. It's a pretty common question. And what we're finding is when they say, why do you still have it, it's because it's a tradition, And, I have a family, not my family, but my wife was a valedictorian, her mom was a valedictorian, her brother was a valedictorian. I was not a valedictorian. But that's not why I don't think it's important. I just see what it's doing to our students, and it really concerns me. So moving forward, and I would change this after some more conversations. I put this slides together last week, but after hearing more comments and things, my suggestion would be to drop the valedictorian, salutatorian with the class of 2027. So this year's 10th graders. They've taken one challenge class so far, and so it wouldn't be a huge shock to the system. It would be the right place. Our juniors have taken multiple CE, CIS type classes. What we would do instead, we already honor our students for highest honors, honors, and high honors. And what we'd like to do, and this is my suggestion, and I stole this from somebody else, but highest honors, in order to earn the highest honors, which would be 4.0 and above, they would need to take a set number of our AP, CIS, CE classes. So we encourage our students to still take these classes that I think are really valuable that we have within our district, that have our teachers teaching them. One of the other most common questions is, what do we do about speakers? Because it's always been valedictorian, salutatorian speaking. And my suggestion is there's two different ways. I know that at Shakopee, and Jenny knows this, and I did this when I was there too. We would open it up to the whole student body, and they get to try out, and you choose from that group. The other thing, if we want to honor this idea of our top academic students getting that opportunity, we open it up to every student that's in that highest honors group. So that means they have a 4.0, and they've taken some of our challenge classes, and we try out from that group there. And we set a committee, probably Miss Beast, Miss Peters, the people that are our speakers, and maybe a couple others. And that would be my proposal. As far as board action on this, there wouldn't be any action until we do our handbook. So that's the next place that would come in. Let's go to the next one, Elise. So then the second part of this that ties in is weighted grades. So with weighted grades, I just think it's time to move off of that too because of the state law and the PSEO. And I just think for all of our students just going to a flat 4.0, we do have one mechanism to help our students, encourage them to continue to take our classes that might be challenging classes. And I stole this idea from Belle Plaine, was that they just do a lower grading scale. So an A is 90% and above versus 93 and above. So right now we weight grades, so students might take that weighted grade or take that class because there's some kind of incentive for them. So our incentive would be a change in their grading scale. So an A minus might be 85 to 90, and then an A would be 90 to 100. And so it just gives kids a little more room for still getting the A's that they want to get, but still being challenged and not afraid to get that first A minus on their grade or in their transcript or something like that. So those are the two parts, that we would drop weighted grades. Again, this would be in the handbook, and then also that we would change from valedictorian, salutatorian to just highest honors, high honors, and honors. So I guess I would entertain questions at this time.
So do you feel that by going this route?
You don't need to do that one, Elise. That was for my last presentation. You don't need to put ELF up there. I was wondering why you were laughing, and then I was like, oh, no. Sorry, Deb.
Do you feel that we would keep more of the possible PSEO students by making this switch?
I don't think it's going to change it either way right now. I don't think it's going to up the number because right now they're not getting that weighted grade. Maybe by doing the different grading scale, that might encourage some kids to come back. Honestly, the flexibility of PSEO is what we see that piece, and then sometimes the rigor piece.
If we get rid of the weighted grades, can you go back, like, I think it was one or two, like with that one? Would high honors then eventually disappear because they wouldn't be above a 4.0?
That would still be, highest honors would just say 4.0.
Okay, so anyone that has a 4.0 would get highest honors, and then,
Yep.
Okay.
So there's still a way that we are able to recognize, because right now, and I didn't even talk about this piece, sorry. The other thing that we're seeing is there have been at least 2 years that our delineation between number 1 and number 3 has been in the thousands. Like it's 4.1111, and then it's like 4.116. Like it's literally one student took this class, in a regular grading scale, and this student took a study hall. And the study hall will actually bump your grade because it's a 0 out of 0 instead of a 4 out of 4. It's really odd, but it's math.
So really it'd
So-
be, okay, so getting rid of the weighted grades, any kid that has A's across the board for all their college class, or high school classes would just have the 4.0.
Yep.
Like they're not gonna go above that, okay.
Correct. And then, then all of those students would be recognized, and you'd look across and
Yeah.
you'd see whatever, I don't remember which one it is, if it's gold. There's all the kids that got straight A's throughout high school.
I also really like the idea of opening it up to the whole student body for the commencement speech, like auditioning for it. I think that, yeah, can highlight a lot of talent that maybe isn't getting that recognition.
Right. Yeah.
The only thing that I would want to understand a little bit more, so I totally get the valedictorian thing, makes total sense. In terms of the grade point average, a lot of schools, a lot of the private schools right now, they basically have kind of two levers to be able to determine how much they're going to give in terms of kind of an academic reward off kind of the list price, grade point average being one, and then some of them are starting to come back with the ACT, and some are still kind of not there. But that could be a pretty big deal for kids that are looking to entertain four-year opportunities. And so I just, in terms of just, and I don't know kind of the mechanisms of being able to kind of see it weighted, or being able to kind of remove that and still being able to kind of determine kind of what your package kind of looks like. But that just might be something to kind of think about as we're kind of refining what that might look like.
Yeah. And I know that some schools, they don't want to know weighted grades. Like, I know I've had to complete some scholarship forms and it says, non-weighted grade, like their GPA. So basically for a lot of those students, it's a 4.0 and their non-weighted grade. So I know that some schools are already looking at that, so it's actually going to make it cleaner.
Yeah.
Because kids will be able to say right there, we don't weight grades.
Right, and I don't know if all of them are quite like that, and I know that a fair number of them are very formulaic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of they're not really interested in having that qualitative conversation quite yet, and so I think it's just one of those things where, and there's some of the MIAC schools, so I think it's just one of those where we probably just, if you haven't dug into that a little bit, then
I can check with some of the surrounding areas that are not weighting. I mean, it's 50-50 and they're.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure, I don't know why you wouldn't take the weighting out. I mean, you want to make it as apples to apples as possible, but I think that there's just a little bit of that just we would want to probably be sensitive of prior to going.
And that will, be kind of grandfathered in, because we're going to have class of 25, 26, and 27 that will still have some weighted grades. They'll still have some weighted grades, but then the 2028s won't anymore.
Right. I guess what I'm just saying is that, say like we were to move forward with that, and a surrounding school district had the weighting, and there was the colleges.
Right.
That
Colleges typically have their own like scale that they give scholarships for.
yeah.
I hear what you're saying. We don't want to lose out a kid. Yes, I totally hear what you're saying. Yep, totally hear what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure that we get all our ducks in a row with that and make sure that our kids are on that same level playing field.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. Yeah, there were actually a couple of principals. We had a group email going around, and a couple of principals and some other school districts were like, I'm not changing. They're going to continue to weight their classes and not PSEO, and we're not going to go there. We're not going to fight that battle. So we have two options, and I think I like this option better. But we will definitely make sure, because we have some surrounding schools that are already doing it, we'll be able to learn from them. Yeah.
So I have a question on, you talked about some of the schools that are keeping it is because of tradition. Has this been a topic that's been brought up to parents to see how their feelings are on it?
So we did bring it up to we brought it at our, what is it called now? District Advisory Committee also.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And there's going to be some people that are not happy.
Right.
Yep.
There always is.
Yep. And I think there's traditionalists, and I understand. I mean, I get all the pieces of it, but I also, having lived in it for a number of years now and seen the ugly competition and just the stress that some kids are under, and ways that they are kind of shortchanging their high school opportunities.
I think the other thing to note too is that like the tradition of like, you know, older generations that had it, that are used to it, like colleges gave more scholarships or
Yes,
like
that's
financial
not the
things
thing
for the
anymore.
valedictorian and salutatorian, where like now they don't really do that. It's more based off of like, if you have this GPA or higher, you qualify for this, you know, amount of money for scholarship. And so it's changed where it's not necessarily a huge detriment to not have that title.
Right.
You know, where I don't think, like, I wouldn't have known that difference, you know what I mean? Like, I work in this area, so like, I know it, but like, you know, I think a lot of parents probably don't know that it's not hindering their student to not have the title.
To be honest, like, I love the idea if we were to open up the speech part of it to
Mhm.
the whole student population. I love the idea of bringing different perspectives and
Yeah.
stuff into that graduation ceremony.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, and we've already, you know, kudos to everyone here. We already made one change in our graduation that I think is awesome, and moving it to Friday night. So, what's some more changes? But it's going to be hard, and there's going to be some disappointed students. But I think eventually you won't know any different, you know. And I just continue to believe I know it's what's right for them mentally and for their mental health, because I just see the things it's doing to some kids at times, and it's just not healthy.
So you had said mentioning starting with the class of 2027,
Mhm.
like with that one class that they could take, would you just not wait that one class?
We
Or
just
is
leave
it
it.
just
We just
for-
leave it in there. I mean,
Yeah,
it won't
okay.
hurt them. You know, it won't do anything but help them stay above that 4.0.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just anything moving forward then, would
Yep.
just not be.
Anything moving forward. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So one less thing we have to put into Infinite Campus for the following years. Stephen probably knows more about that piece of the interior workings of Infinite Campus and stuff. So it actually is better for us that way too. Yeah, and I know this is another change, but I just really truly believe in it. And like I said, we first came to this in about 2018, and it wasn't time, and we had some board members say, you know, that's just really not a good idea. And maybe you will too, but I'm open to any other suggestions or thoughts.
Well, I appreciate all the time and effort you put into this. So are you looking for just blessings from the board to move forward with this?
Yeah, I mean, I
know
think it's just,
not an
it's more of a,
action
we
item.
wanted to, kind of what Christina was asking too, of just getting it out into the public forum too. You know, we did it
Yep.
one time in a smaller public forum and now in a bigger public forum. And then obviously when we do our board approval of the handbook, I'll mention it again in that. So we'll have another, almost like a second reading or a third reading of it. Yeah.
For if you do open it up to like kids talking, like doing the speeches at commencement, will you still do like the valedictorian and salutatorian for this year? Or would you consider opening that up for like this
No,
year? or
we
next
won't,
year?
we won't change that tradition until we change the other one. So that would come in 2027.
Got it.
Yep. So we got a couple more years to plan and move on that one. Yep.
That's good.
Yeah. I think it's, I mean, I agree with everybody. Like, I was a benefactor of that in Shakopee and watching a young man who was just, and his whole speech was about, I'm just the average kid in this building. Most of you probably don't know me. And it was just an awesome speech, and kids were like, yeah! And, you know, it was just really cool because it touched a different group of people. So it's good.
I
Yeah.
like it. Good.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Wisner.
Thanks.
Moving on to 8.5, Booster Club proposal, scoreboard updates.
Thank you for letting us come talk tonight. My name's Ozzie Sand. For those who don't know me, I'm a high school teacher. I also am the head football coach, head girls golf coach, and I run the MAX program. This project really started about 3 to 4 years ago with Joe Perkle and myself. At that time, you know, funds were a little different, so it was kind of shelved. And then about November, Eric Dvorak, he's our Booster Club president. Him and I are friends outside of this as well. We were talking, and, you know, we both have kind of the same vision with, you know, what we want to do for Jordan, how we want to make Jordan a better place. And right now, with where our Booster Club is at, they've done done a great job over the past 3 or 4 years kind of building up what they can provide for the community. So that's kind of what started this project for us. So tonight we're going to kind of go through the proposal. Like I said, we started this in November, and we've really been trying to take the right steps in making sure this thing can be a positive for the Jordan community, but also not put the Jordan community, the school district, in a situation where it's going to hinder their ability to operate as well. So kind of our project outline here is what we want to do is we want to add digital scoreboards out at the stadium. So it would replace our scoreboard out there right now. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'd also want to add in a digital scoreboard into the gymnasium as well. When working through this meets the most athletes at our school, allowing us to do some things for the school district academically as well. Next slide, please. So our first one would be our outdoor stadium. So this would be at Ames Field. You can see up there is our old scoreboard. Our old scoreboard is great. It's been very useful for us, but you can see that it's kind of, in today's world, having a digital scoreboard provides us with a better opportunity. One of that is for our athletic programs. The old scoreboard is very good for a football program. It gives us what we need, but then in a lot of other programs like the soccer team, track and field, they use the scoreboard as well, and it's not as beneficial for them. So a digital scoreboard is actually very beneficial for track and field. Is a perfect example. That bottom right side there, that's what a track and field digital scoreboard can look like. If certain communities like Hutchinson, Watertown Mayor, they have digital scoreboards, which allows them to provide bigger events for their track and field and a more positive experience for their athletes. Same thing can be said with the soccer programs. Right now, the soccer program uses our scoreboard. They would have their own scoreboard on the digital scoreboard that would reflect their sport, and kind of they can use it in their own way. We also thought some other great ideas. We could use it at graduation. The community ed could use it for community ed nights where you can watch movies on there and kind of create a positive experience for our community. Our next slide would be, and this is actually incorrect on here. This is what they sent me. This would go on the other end. We would leave the Allen Holdeck scoreboard up there with the points and the stats because people really enjoy that aspect of it. So this would go on the other end where it's just our plain scoreboard. And again, it provides better opportunities for our wrestling programs, our volleyball programs, basketball. We have Veteran Day programs in there. We have band concerts in there. So a lot of different programs can utilize the digital scoreboard to really enhance that experience. Also on this next slide here is something that Daktronics is where we would go through. They actually have a classroom program. It's part of their CTE aligned program that they will use that where it's a class, they give you curriculum where you can really introduce students to this, and they actually have scholarships where students can go to the University of Minnesota or other colleges, and they align with Daktronics classroom, so it'd be a great experience for maybe potentially having a class someday at Jordan High School where students can work on TV production and those type of things. The big thing is the financial outlook. It's a pretty big price tag, but what Eric and I have really tried to do is lay this out for you of how we would fundraise for this project. So the overall cost for the scoreboards, and this is both including installation, is $540,000. What we've done with that is we've gone on the high end for all of our numbers. So there's some variables in there. The biggest variable is what it would be to install it at the stadium. That can range from anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000. We went with the high end on there. And then if you look at that bottom number, and I'll go into more details on this in the next couple slides, is what we're looking to fundraise. We're looking to fundraise $612,000 because that includes our insurance on there. A big thing, and we know with the turf field and other things, there's a lot of cost that comes with a project like this. So we're building that cost into the fundraising opportunity. And where we got that number is we asked Daktronics, what would it be for your insurance on there? They have a 10-year insurance plan. It is $71,000 for their insurance plan. We built that into the cost. We wouldn't take their insurance. I don't know a lot about insurance, but I have it, and sometimes you don't use it, so we built that in there to where we would keep that into the booster club, and we'd have the ability to access that for insurance or for maintenance, and if we didn't use it all, then we'd be able to put that money back into replacing the scoreboard. These scoreboards, right now they're telling us a 10-year lifespan, but that's for, like Eden Prairie is a great example. They have a scoreboard, they're replacing it after 10 years, but they were the first ones to get a digital scoreboard. So technology and things have really changed over the last 10 years, so we really think the lifespan is going to be anywhere from 15 to 20 years for a scoreboard like this. Next slide. So there's really three ways that Eric and I have come up with the fundraising for this. The main one is our title sponsors. After that, we have our program support, and then we have some digital sponsors that we'd work with individual programs. Next slide, please. So just talking a little bit about that, we're really in the phase right now where we're just prospecting for people to sponsor and kind of see how people react to this. But what we would do is we would find 4 static sponsors. So they would be on the signage, both at the stadium and in the gymnasium, and they would be paying $55,000 for that sponsorship. It'd be $11,000 a year for 5 years, and they would have access to that signage there. The reason we came up with $55,000 is it is pretty expensive to put in the signage underneath, so we built that price into what we would be asking from them. Our next one would be program support. So what we did is we kind of talked to different programs. We prospect with some members of the Booster Club before we bring this to the Booster Club on Wednesday, is kind of what could you provide? And this is kind of where it's broken down into what all the different programs that can be utilizing these digital scoreboards and asking them to provide for that initial payment. So that number comes out to, in the 5 years, $292,000. I've talked to a lot of the program leads, and they are in support of this. This is very similar to when we got the bleachers out at the stadium, where programs that utilize them supported it as well in that initial 5-year payoff. And then the last sponsorship, and again, this process is what we took from Daktronics. It's not something that I created myself, so it's a process that Daktronics gave us, is the digital main sponsorships. And this really puts emphasis on the programs going out and finding sponsorships for their sport. So I put the example on there, being the football coach, as that's a hometown bank first down. So they have sponsorships on all in-game things that happen during a sport. And what that does is, in the first 5 years, it allows us to pay off the scoreboard, but after that, it allows some of these programs to recoup that money. So in the long run, they're actually going to benefit from the putting up these digital scoreboards. And that's kind of what our next slide talks about a little bit. So this is kind of the planning for the future. This is the big slide where it talks about what it's going to look like, because we want to have this paid off in the first 5 years. So the title sponsors, in the first 5 years, that's going to be $220,000 to pay off the scoreboard. In years 6 through 10, what we would do is that $220,000 that we are getting in static sponsors would be put into a CD, and that would go into our scoreboard replacement. We came up with this project not asking no money from the school district. So we would find ways to repay to replace the scoreboard when we would need to in the 10 to 15 year range. With the program support, it'd be $292,000 in the first 5 years, and then after that, the programs wouldn't need to support it all anymore. And then the digital main sponsors would be $100,000 in program support in the first 5 years, and then after that, that $100,000 would go back into those programs. So those programs would receive the funds to recoup what they kind of put into it. The Booster Club, in talking to Eric and some people in the Booster Club, the benefit from them is they would change their sponsorship package, and that's really where the financial piece can be a big benefit for the athletic programs, is they would change their sponsorship programs to provide more funds into the Booster Club, which would provide more funds for other sports that maybe don't generate as much. Golf's a perfect example. We don't generate as much, so we go to the school board for a lot of items, and that's kind of where the Booster Club funding would be beneficial. Again, the scoreboard maintenance is close to $72,000. That is built into the project to help us maintain that scoreboard, and then that money would go back into providing a new scoreboard if need be at the end of it if we don't use it all for that maintenance. We've really talked to a lot of people, helped with John about the maintenance of a scoreboard. Some people say that it does take a lot to maintain, but we're finding a lot of those people are the people that bought them initially. You know, it's like anything. Now the scoreboard comes in these small pieces like this, and if one breaks down, you can continue using the scoreboard. You pop that piece out, you replace it, the scoreboard is functional again. So it's not like, it's kind of like an old TV. If one part breaks, or we used Christmas lights as an example. One light would break, the whole thing won't work. Now, you know, one light can burn out and the rest of them are continuing to work. So kind of where we're at with our project timeline, we have a pretty aggressive timeline with the fact that we'd like to have these up by next year. The reason we came up with that is in prospecting to sponsorship or to get those static sponsors, talking to companies, they want to act on this fast. They have budgets. They want to get their funds out to the school. They don't want to have it in reserve for 2 or 3 years down the line. So whenever you do a project like this, you have to act fast on it because they want their funds to go to the project right away. They don't want to have to say yes to something that could happen in 2 or 3 years. We've had discussions with Rob because he kind of works with our booster club, a lot of the different aspects of the booster club as it relates to the gambling. We've talked with Tina, who works with our sponsorship packages. We've talked to John, who's our activities director, and kind of got his viewpoint on it. We've also talked with all the head coaches that would impact and kind of got their okay to go ahead and their excitement for the project. We've kind of talked to some title sponsors. You know, we didn't want to come here not having anything, but we also didn't want to come here getting ahead of ourselves. So we kind of talked to a couple of them to see where they're at. And then we also met with superintendent and kind of gave her this same aspect. So this is something we're excited about. This is something, you know, Eric and I have put a lot of time into. We both have young children in the district, and we want to provide them with a great opportunity, and we think this can be something that's very beneficial for the now and the future.
No, I mean, it's a discussion, input, and feedback. You can choose to make it an action item, depending on how the conversation goes.
Okay, what's the wishes of the board? Do you want this to be an action item or just a discussion item?
Can it start as a discussion item, and if we have to
Move
take
to it.
action, we'll take action?
Okay, that sounds good. So I'll open it up to discussion. So I guess my question is this is a lot of legwork. Is this going to fall on, you two are taking the lead on running this thing? And
I've taken the lead up to this point, and then you kind of after this, Eric's going to take the lead on the rest of it. With you know, being the Booster Club president, the finance piece, he's going to kind of. I had the foundation because, you know, we started this 3 years ago. I kind of knew the people, so I took the beginning part, and Eric, being the Booster Club president, being in the business world himself, will kind of take the lead after approval.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's a big lift, but I think it's great. So I'll open it up to discussion.
And before kind of asking questions, I think one of the ways to potentially frame at least this kind of portion of the conversation is there's been a ton of work in terms of just kind of thinking about the pathway to make this happen. And so commend, you know, kind of both of you for doing that as well as others. I think what, at least in my mind, is that if we are gonna go down a path where, from a district standpoint, we would be accepting of having a digital scoreboard versus some of the scoreboards that we've had at this point, that's, I think, the indication that we want to know, because we don't want to kind of go through the trouble, be able to make the purchases, get to the finish line and say, oh my gosh, look at how great this is going to be. We're going to be able to have an electronic scoreboard for our stadium and for the basketball or for the high school gymnasium. And then all of a sudden come to the board, and the board basically says, for kind of whatever reason, no, we don't think that this makes sense. And so I think kind of from that perspective, it's more of a, if we're comfortable kind of as a district to kind of go down this path, then, kind of the hard work kind of begins to see, okay, well, where do we get kind of the funding, and what is kind of that path, and what is kind of the timeline, but also recognizing that it's dollars that aren't coming out of the general fund, they're coming from outside sources, that there's confidence in that there's ways to be able to kind of self-fund and support and to be able to replace. And so I think that framing is probably helpful, at least at this stage of the discussion.
If I could jump in, I really appreciate what you just shared, because those were some of my, I think, initial questions when I was first approached about this. Number one, obviously, I think sometimes in our community, and rightly so, people don't understand the different buckets of money and how we're required to spend some or not spend, if that makes sense, where some are restricted funds and the general fund, all of that. And so knowing that we're super mindful of our budget and we've had to make some really challenging decisions recently, that was a piece I think that's really important for our public to know, that this isn't a school district expenditure being proposed. I also had some questions about the long-term liabilities with maintenance, knowing that the original boards, I think, functioned at a lower level than what, like a Daktronics is putting out now. And so I was very appreciative just seeing the thought that went into the long-term planning for, the maintenance aspect and board replacement and all of those things. So from my perspective, with the initial conversations and the legwork, I was very comfortable bringing that forward to you as a school board. For input and feedback, I would say, from my perspective, I'm very comfortable with moving forward in a relationship with the Booster Club on this. We've partnered many times with the Booster Club on various things. This is really exciting for our kids. So, I, again, have tons of appreciation for the fact that as a district, we wouldn't incur any liabilities with maintenance and upkeep and replacement. Knowing where we are right now with our budget and funding, we have to be super respectful of that and mindful, if that makes sense. So.
I have a question. With Ames Field being a turf field, do we have any significant maintenance coming up on that, the timing of this huge project with the timing of that, which I would imagine be a huge project?
Sure. Yep, that's a really good question. So we actually check Ames Fields. We have a process where they go and see, I'm not going to get all the words right, but is it gushy enough or whatever, within safety parameters, and we do annual maintenance on those things. That is something that's built into our LTFM plan, our long-term facilities maintenance plan.
Okay.
But I'll let John speak to it more eloquently. He won't say gushy
So,
stuff.
yeah, we have the turf tested on an annual basis, and really what that testing is designed is to figure out, are there areas of the turf that are starting to harden to the extent that they present additional injury risk? One of the advantages that we have from a duration of our turf standpoint is that we really don't have any spring sports that utilize it. We have a lacrosse cooperative with Southwest Christian, but they participate up at Southwest Christian. They don't use our field in the spring. We really just have Phi Ed out there and maybe a few days of softball or baseball practice before all the snow is melted and their fields are dry. So our turf really has not worn and torn at the rate that it typically would if that situation were different. One of the things that I do like about this proposal, and I would be the first to tell you, is a scoreboard the first thing that we quote unquote need right now? Maybe not. We have other needs, coming up down the pipeline, like a turf field, like, stadium seating at Ames Field, like weight room renovations. I think what's exciting about this, though, is it's a project that presents a mechanism for hopefully contributing towards those other needs, right? If we replace the weight room tomorrow, that would be an amazing enhancement for our athletes, but it wouldn't raise any money towards future initiatives. And so that's one of the things that I think is so intriguing about this proposal is the revenue generation piece of it. And while the revenue will not be going directly to the school district, it would be going towards the Booster Club because of their sales of advertisements. That money ends up benefiting our athletes down the road and could be used to partner on projects such as those. But yes, those types of needs are certainly at top of mind.
So does our insurance like cover, so you said there's like extra insurance you can get to like cover the board, like let's say a hailstorm comes through and like, yeah, so our, like the district would cover that piece.
We are insured.
Yes, for the whole building.
For
Okay.
everything, yeah.
So then that extra 70,000 would just go to like, into like how you explained.
The maintenance, yeah.
Yeah.
The bulbs, things of that nature.
Okay, and then can you explain a little bit more about like the sports piece, like how they would give portion of, I think it was like the student support or the sports.
Yeah,
Like where does that money come from and how is Jordan Soccer giving $2,000 for a year to a total $10,000?
Yeah, so there's basically a total of 2 fundraising participations from each of our programs that were listed here. The first one, which you're looking at here, are out of their annually fundraised dollars, what are they contributing towards the use of the scoreboard? So when they do their annual fundraiser, whether it be that they're doing pizza sales, just for a blanket example, or softball isn't a part of this, but their salts, those annual fundraising pieces, what are they contributing out of that towards the scoreboard? So that's one part. And then it also could overlap with the second piece of it, which was those additional sponsor of whatever thing is relevant to your sport. So Ozzy used the first down example, volleyball, it might have, that spike presented to you by whomever, right? And that could be something that could be, raise their entire contribution combined between the two, depending on what they're able to sell that particular sponsorship for. But as far as what you're asking for, that would come out of their annual fundraising budget. It's not from their, for example, supplies budget that's provided by the school district.
And just another point of context. So there's funds, these all exist.
Yep.
And there's dollars that are populated in all of those right
Mhm.
now. It's more of the conversation of having the discussion with the coach or the director.
Yep.
And saying, is this an amount that you're comfortable in terms of contributing? And
Yep.
then this is kind of what you get kind of in return.
Correct.
I don't know, I'm not gonna lie, I kinda have a hard time with that because I feel like we just raised rates $25, which I know isn't a big deal, but then like, we're asking the sports then to contribute $2,000, which could go towards buying equipment or buying extra jerseys or what, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, that's where I have a hard time like
And I
having
would,
the teams like fundraise for it.
So I understand that concern, but the reason, that's kind of the 5-year plan, but we're thinking longevity. Like for a great example, basketball is getting $5,000 a year. So in the years 6 through 10, they're going to put in $10,000, but in years 6 through 10, they're going to make $25,000. So in the 10-year, they're going to net gain $15,000 into their account.
So I guess, can you explain how they're gonna net gain $15,000 from the scoreboard?
Yep.
Like,
So
I don't-
the digital main sponsor in the first year goes to pay for it because we're going to pay off the scoreboard in the first 5 years, and then in years 6 through 10, when we don't have that, we have the scoreboard pay off. That money's going to go into their account, the digital main sponsorship. So this that year 6 through 10, the $100,000 that goes in to the scoreboard will go back into the programs.
So if I'm a sponsor and I'm paying that $11,000 a year, right? Is that what the amount was?
And that's a different fund than the digital main sponsor. That's a static sponsorship.
So
They're-
I can do a sponsorship to be on the scoreboard for $11,000, and then if I want to be a booster sponsor, I have to pay another whatever the booster sponsorship
So
is.
you're talking about it, you're thinking about it from an individual standpoint. These are likely gonna be mostly businesses. So it would be, if I'm thinking about my business and I want eyeballs to be able to have kind of more awareness so that I can sell my products, actually an investment of $11,000 to be able to essentially get a wide swath of the Jordan community is a really reasonable investment from that perspective. So that's the audience that we would be going with. And then this is, but it's also too, I mean, you can be creative because the sponsorships that we have within the Booster Club, yes, there's like an individual membership component to that. And so, those are kind of individuals where it's, it can be kind of a student or a single person or a family. There's the local kind of companies that are kind of around. There's the ones that are a little bit more regional. The flexibility with something like this, because it's all digital, you can customize it to kind of however you kind of want to meet that need. And then you can create kind of different kind of price points. So, kind of the other thing that would be kind of cool if you're just talking about like kind of from a single, kind of a family perspective, you could, do something that's pretty kind of nominal, but it's kind of cool. You can kind of see your name, or you can kind of give a shout out to, kind of the student that is, kind of participating in kind of whatever the activity is. But then you could also be, kind of a bigger, you could be like a Hy-Vee, and you could kind of do kind of promotional that way, and the price point there would be kind of much higher, and all those dollars would come back into us. So it's kind of a way to kind of self kind of invest, and so that's kind of the idea of kind of how you kind of get to some of those numbers at the end of the day. And we have that a little bit, but our sponsorships now are they're pretty stagnant. I mean, you have kind of a, like you can see like in the CERT, you have kind of the nameplates that are kind of out there. So, once it's there, it's kind of there. This creates a dynamic where you can be much more nimble, you can be much more creative, and because of that, you can charge a whole lot more than what we have historically.
Jenna, let me explain a little bit differently. Hy-Vee is going to come in and be a digital sponsor. For the first 5 years of that sponsorship, that whatever that fee is for that digital sponsor is going to go towards paying off the scoreboard. From year 6 to 10, they're still going to pay that same fee, but that fee is now going to go back into the booster club and then go back into the basketball programs fund sitting within the booster club. That's how the money is going to go back.
Yeah. And the other thing
Does that make sense, though?
Yeah, but aren't they still going to be short for the first 5 years then?
But so I get
They're giving up
the other thing that I would say about those booster accounts is those are what I would term experience dollars, right? Where they're using those to enhance student experiences, whether it's buying warm-ups, whether it's taking an overnight trip and paying to stay in a hotel for that, whether it's summer programming. We're not buying softballs with those booster club dollars. So our coaches who have what's that?
They pay for extra coaches.
Which is an enhancement.
Totally.
You don't need it. So anything that the booster club does is an enhancement.
Yeah.
We do not support turning the lights on. We have within the district, we have dollars that go to.
And the booster club's gambling intake is what funds our assistant coach stipends. That's not being touched as part of this project. So.
And in addition, you're not using all of their funds that are sitting
Correct.
within that program. The basketball program could have $10,000 sitting in their funds from what they've fundraised, but they're only going to put $2,500 towards that.
Yeah.
So they still have money sitting in their accounts to use for all of those other things that they're looking for. And I'm just using basketball as an example, just for the.
I'll give you an exact number. So apologies, soccer team, but this is all public. If you combine the two soccer programs, they have $19,000 right now.
And these figures, I have talked to all the coaches, so they weren't just things that I made up on my own. It was in discussion with them and what they could provide, and still provide a great opportunity. And I think, just from a coach's point of view, we're getting to a lot of the numbers, and I think that's very important here. But also, from my point of view, what we can do with the digital scoreboards to promote our students and promote our community is the biggest beneficial, or the most beneficial thing, because, you see Hutchinson, Watertown Mayor, they're doing a lot of things where, the best example is on Parents' Night. You have kids pop up there and you say thank you to mom and dad. You have different things that you can do. So I think, the numbers are important. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm for the students, and I think that's kind of a thing too where I want to push it is. It's going to provide great opportunities for our athletes and our community.
Can you talk a little bit about the mechanics? You must have somebody that's going to be trained in the background that's going to be typing in the name of the 4x4 runners. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. Well, it's 2025. It's super easy. They have an iPad. You have everything loaded in there. If if, our quarterback throws a touchdown, you click on his number, it pops up on the screen, it's preloaded, basically anyone that can run the iPad can run it. So you're not adding in, Steven's giving me a thumbs up in the background there. You're not adding in a lot of things. It's literally an iPad, and it's all preloaded by, coaches, and you push the button for that commercial or that advertisement or that sponsorship touchdown, and it just pops right up on the screen.
Thank you.
I, for one, think it's a great opportunity for the school. When I saw it, I was a little nervous, only because I was worried that, is it ever going to impact our general fund? But after you went through, even reading through it, I was like, there's got to be a way this is going to impact our general fund. But after you've explained it to me, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any money associated to the general fund related to these scoreboards, because at the end of the day, we educate students, and I don't want any funds that would take away from us having a teacher to have this. But with the way you have this outlined, I think it's perfect. I kind of feel bad for baseball and softball because they're not part of this, so I'm kind of hoping the Booster Club in the background thinks of softball and baseball at some point. But the way we're going to be giving back to them, to the programs in years 6 through 10, and how we're paying for it, and with the Booster Club and how much they're going to help with the funds of this, I think it's amazing. I just want to make sure from a workload perspective, do we have the volunteers for all of this? If it's, what kind of volunteers you're going to need, and do we have the community support that will help with that? But this is fabulous. I love it. I think it's great. Being a parent of a soccer player, I will say though, there is one school where their screen was so bright on the field. I was like, oh my God, it's got to be flashing in their eyes. But it's amazing, and it is a different experience when you're at a field event watching those and you can see it all come up. So I love it. I love it, and I love it even more that it's not coming from the general fund.
So having said that, I am going to make a motion to direct our administration to work with you on to move forward with this, and I will entertain a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion or comments? Again, it's imperative that through this whole process, we're very, very clear to the community that it's not general funds.
Yeah, we're going to use our Boosters Club social media presence to
Thank you.
relay that message out too. So.
Yes.
That would be I think this is, you've put a lot of work into this, and it's really cool, and I like how you also did like the community piece of like the movie night. Like, I think that's a really great component.
I love that idea.
You added that in there. Like, I was like, oh, that'd be really cool, like on for like my kids, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm just very concerned about like the program support. I mean, it makes more sense like how it's gonna work out, but it just, I think you need to be very clear about that, because like we raised rates and then now it's like, oh, but the programs are giving this money. Like, I think that part is concerning to me, but I do think you've done a very good job at like outlining this and trying to make it financially, like you said, not impact. Like,
Yeah, I really appreciate the in-depth amount of work that you've done putting this together. It's very helpful.
One other point that I think is just kind of important too, just as we're staying coordinated on this. Yes, while the Jordan Booster Club is a separate entity, we are 100% linked to the school district. It's within our bylaws that any dollars that are fundraised through the Booster Club go right back to the district to help enhance the activities that are associated with the district. So, so that piece is there and it's solid. So that's, I think, another kind of important component just from a reassurance perspective.
Okay, so we have a motion to direct administration to work with these fine gentlemen on moving forward with this. Is there any more questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, on to board administrative reports. Superintendent Evenson.
All right. Chair Polly, members of the board, April, wow. Tonight I have just a couple of things to highlight. One thing I'd want to just touch on, we are going to be communicating to families that participate in our online program that we will be switching providers from Southwest Metro's Elevate to Minnesota Virtual Academy. Director of Finance, Amy Hafman, was able to complete that process. I know we've been talking about it for a little bit at the board table, but that will shift for the upcoming school year. We're excited about the opportunity to offer a wider variety of courses. They've got some really great student supports, attendance teams that work with students to reach out with families and make sure our kids are supported, and just greater flexibility in that online experience. So very excited about that. We'll be sending out a communication, I believe, this week to families that participate in Elevate so that they're aware, and then we'll support them with the changeover for the upcoming school year. The other thing I'd like to touch on, lots of questions this weekend regarding the JES Memorial Garden. We are very fortunate to be partnering with Steve McClellan and some of our students and KA. They will be rebuilding the Memorial Garden over there. Anyone that's been by it in the last few years, you can see that the wood has just, it's weathered and aging and kind of crumbling. And so worked with Gina, who, takes care of the Memorial Garden as well, to harvest out the perennials that we want to maintain and keep. So dug those up, moved those to the external, the two side gardens. But our students are going to be building the new garden. And so we did harvest some bricks from the original JES building that we'll be able to use in that as well. And working with local lumber company, et cetera, just to make sure we have all the products. But they'll be starting that. So it'll be a brand new garden over there. The pine trees are staying. That was a question I got this weekend too. But we will have a brand new updated garden before next school year. So really excited about that. And anytime our students can do it, it's even better. So outside of that, I want to just touch on the building projects. Thank you to Elise for getting that most recent video out. It's fun to kind of show where we're at with phase 1.5. We anticipate by early summer or the end of the school year that front part of the building will be very close to being completed. That is the old office, which will be a student support place, renovations with the music room, the kitchen cafeteria, adding some bathrooms over there, dedicated kids company space. So they have been working so hard on that since February, and so great appreciation for that. Our teachers are in the ELS and K1 area will be starting to pack. I think some of them already have. And as you recall, we changed that last day of school, eliminating that half day of student contact to make that a full packing day for staff. So we'll have the last 2 days to pack up those parts of the building, and we turn over the keys at 5 o'clock, I think on the 30th, whatever that Friday is, in May. And phase 2 will get rolling. So once phase 2 is done, we will be done.
And we will have an open house.
And we will have the best open house. I'm thinking it's honestly going to be late September, early October, because there's so many punch list things that happen and, all of those things. So that being said, we will have an amazing open house. I'm just so grateful and so excited every time I walk through there, and just see the kids utilizing the new spaces that we've been able to do. It's pretty amazing to see that. It's been really rewarding. So very excited about how things have gone with that and continue to go. Celebrate Jordan was yesterday. Thank you to Cullen and Andy and Jamie and the whole team. What a day. It was so well done, so well attended. And just grateful for the community support on that. It's going to be a busy last 2 months of school. You guys, we are in the last 2 months of school. Lots of events. We've got, middle school, high school plays Annie. I love Annie. So that's going to be a good time. Lots of band concerts and choir concerts. And in 5 minutes, it's going to be commencement. So I hope it's warm this year. So that's my report.
Okay, any questions?
I'm glad we're going to do an open house because during Celebrate Jordan, I had quite a few people come up and ask if we were going to do something because we drive by, we see all the construction. So
lots to celebrate.
So.
Yeah.
Just one comment on the online school thing too.
Yes.
This new school that we'll be switching to, we do retain those students
Yes.
as our students, so we will be collecting the Wadums on that.
Yep, they're Jordan students. They can participate in all of our extracurricular events. Actually, a pleasant surprise with this as we investigated further, the rates are significantly less. We will experience quite a bit of savings, but actually the services, just because they've been in it a lot longer, and it's one of those, scale factors, like we're going to end up having a lot more opportunities, and they have really some great student support layers there. So, yeah, I'm excited for our kids that's the option for them. I'm glad we can partner with MNVA.
Any questions for Renee? Okay, all the other administrative reports are listed, and we didn't have Henry here with us tonight, so, yeah. Any questions or comments about any of the other administrative reports? So, okay, on to school board and committee reports. So, budget finance we did, calendar did not meet, city school is meeting next Monday. Corinne is not with us tonight, community ed rec, but again, that would be, the focus would be on Celebrate Jordan yesterday, I'm sure. District advisory, I was there, we did a tour. Superintendent Evenson gave us a tour of the elementary school. It was very well received, so it was a good meeting.
Yep.
It was the last one for the year. Facilities has not met, meet and confer, no. Negotiations, no, not yet. Policy, we did have a meeting. Chrissy, you want to cover that?
Wasn't it your first one?
It was my first one, yes, and you had read through some changes to some of the policies that were mentioned in the agenda. There was nothing too significant in it, so.
Yeah. Thank you. APAC, we meet we meet Wednesday. Just a reminder, April 30th is the banquet, so hopefully we'll see you all there. Booster Club, Lauren or Chrissy?
So it was my first meeting, and it was pretty uneventful, other than the fact that everybody said it was the shortest meeting in the Booster Club history, so.
Wow.
So
Wow.
there was not a lot that went on.
Okay. Foundation, Jenny, were you able to?
We haven't met yet. I think the next meeting's like,
They only meet 4 times a year now.
Okay.
it's coming up, but it's not for like another month.
I do know they're working on the gala already. They have had one gala meeting. I believe there's another one actually tomorrow night, I think. So the gala date is set. I don't remember what it is, but it is set for next year. So legislative, lots and lots of stuff going on at the legislature. I had lunch with Denise Dietrich, the MSBA lobbyist, on last Friday. There's just lots going on there. I mean, there's all kinds of things being floated to and including, we have some people at the state, Senate and House level that are talking about possibly pulling back the 2% inflator that was given to us 2 years ago. So I'm not so sure that there's going to be much of anything that passes the legislature this year. So I think it's going to be pretty stagnant. MSHSL, I had Region 2AA meeting, as actually Ozzy and I both did. We're both on that. Last Thursday, I think it was. They audited our Region 2AA committee. We set the prices for the section and subsection tickets at $10 for adults, $5 for students. That's pretty much universal what the other sections and subsections are doing. We talked about some changes to debate in how they break their do their tiebreakers. We recommended that they'll pass on to the MSHSL board that they're going to drop the low score and the high score of the judges. Because, if you get a rogue judge where everybody else gets a 1 and one gives a 9, it skews it. So they're talking about getting rid of to do the tiebreaker, to get rid of the high and low score. Talked about Nordic Ski making some changes with code of conduct, and there was some talk about having video reviews done at the Nordic Ski level, which didn't fly very good, because they kind of took it that any parent or any attendee could video a Nordic Ski thing and then question it, bring it to the judges and question it, so that didn't fly. Strong possibility that they may be adding a half day to the wrestling state tournament, partly to accommodate the growing number of girl wrestlers, and also to have, I don't get this, true, what is it?
True state?
No, wrestlebacks, to have true wrestlebacks. So there's a very good possibility if they can make a deal with the Excel Center that will add a half day to the wrestling tournament, which adds kids being out of school another half day possibly, and some overnight expenses and stuff. So we'll see. These are all recommendations that, how it works is the regions vote on it, and then the result of the regions goes to the MSHSL board, and they ultimately make the decision. Their big thing going on now is that they're going to be adding ninth graders to the MSHSL insurance and level of participation. So they're rewriting literally all their bylaws, all their rules, all their regulations, all their insurance and everything to include the ninth graders, which is a huge, huge, huge deal.
What do you mean?
Ninth graders were not included before.
For Minnesota High School League?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you were a JV or a varsity kid?
Oh, God, I wish John was here. It's different. The bylaws read differently for ninth graders.
Yes, yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
They were not covered by the insurance, the catastrophic insurance.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, this has
Yikes.
been, back when I was on the board 10 years ago, we were talking about it, and have been talking about it for years before that. So this is a huge, huge change.
Well,
I mean, not that there's many ninth graders on varsity, but like they could be.
oh, there are, yeah.
I think
So,
across the state there are, especially in
Yeah.
small districts, there's a lot of seventh and eighth graders.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't
Yeah.
got caught. I mean, not caught, but like got
In a
exposed
tough
with a
spot.
big,
But now all ninth graders
Claim.
will be included. We talked about resectioning, and then, as you know, Jordan, kind of with the girls' basketball, I think we bounced around some. It was in John's report, we kind of bounced around where we're gonna be with sectioning. We set the sites for our Region 2AA committees, and the tournament managers. There was some talk about legislation regarding the eligibility for online kids. There is talk about that. And then girls wrestling may be moving from 4 sections to 8 sections. And then this was a new one that I just saw today online, and it just kind of blows my mind. There's a legislator that proposed, obviously doesn't understand how MSHSL works, that is proposing, and it's moving through the legislature, mandating that cricket will be an offered sport in the spring of the year by 2027.
Like, what?
Cricket.
it must be more worldly. That'll be good.
And many of you probably will, especially you, Jenny.
It is one of the more popular sports in the world today.
Jenny, you'll be very familiar with how hard Shakopee worked at getting boys volleyball and how many years that took. And that, I mean, they want to stay away from the legislature as much as possible. I mean, so that worked through coaches and families and students and stuff. And this is just a rogue legislature.
So
Legislators, so yeah.
Maybe just have big dreams and aspirations.
Honestly, right? That's
Cricket.
so wild.
I mean, you know, you don't just do that to the league because they have to take into consideration, you know, where they're going to have tournaments and the cost of tournaments and sponsors and all the other things.
Legislature has to work on.
Exactly.
Cricket rose to the top
Cricket,
of the
yeah.
list. That's impressive.
Yeah, I just read that today. It was like, anyway, okay. Enough of that. Scale?
Yeah.
Scale met, but I wasn't there, and I was planning to join online, but I couldn't because I was in a medical meeting.
I attended online on my way to my meeting in Roseville on Friday. They actually had Scott County Environmental Services, so they talked a lot about waste management, things in the county and the partnership that they have with schools. And I know Jordan Public Schools partners a lot with DEMCON. We'll have their virtual like truck thing out back here. I don't think it's too far from now. Is it in April? I think in April. And you know, the different grant opportunities that like we've participated in to help teach students about the recycling and all of the things that they need to do. And so there was some conversation with that, and then they had a legislative update.
Great. Southwest Metro, we meet tomorrow night. Last month, we're working on redoing the strategic plan. That's really the most of what we've been doing there. So, we'll just do board member things. I have one thing that I want to share for the public, if there's anybody still on. I've had questions about why the elementary school doesn't have a flag up. Because we're under major construction there, and Superintendent Evenson maybe want to talk about that. So.
Yeah, the actual flagpole will be moving as well, and you know, throughout the construction project, you know, we've been removing just multiple things, obviously in preparation. So there will be a flag that's replaced. It will be beautiful. It will be in front of the school in a new spot when we get to that stage. So, and we have flags in every classroom. We've had great partnerships, actually. You know, with our local veterans and such, and they actually replaced all of our flags at JES. So really appreciate that partnership, and it's a huge priority for us. We just don't have one outside right now in the construction zone. Lots of cranes, and yeah, we just don't.
That's all. I have one. Yeah. Anything?
I'm just looking forward to the end of the school year, and I want to go see the play Annie. But no, I really don't have anything to share.
And the middle school play.
And the middle school play. So I'm looking forward to the activities at the end of the year.
Rob?
Yeah, busy time of the year. School, a lot of school kind of stuff going on, a lot of extracurriculars. The one thing I guess I just want to kind of highlight is, so I did attend the boys basketball banquet last night. They did a really good job. The thing that I just kind of wanted to highlight is there were some circumstances that happened within the program that were kind of outside of the control of the coaches and the kids, and just the ability for them to persevere through the year. And for some of those coaches to kind of step up and take on roles that they weren't necessarily anticipating for this season. Just hats off to them. They were super admirable kind of in the roles. They went kind of above and beyond. They had the kids' interests at heart, and just want to really just kind of say, you know, kind of extra kudos to them.
Jenny?
Flag football started 2 weekends ago, but this is the first weekend of games, I guess. But that was good to see lots of families and kids out playing and getting involved. But yeah, it was beautiful outside this weekend. And Celebrate Jordan, I mean, it was busy around here.
The dunk tank was a real hit.
Yeah. I got a text that was like, who do you want to go dunk? And I'm like, I can't, I'm busy today, but yeah. Yeah. I'll bring that back next year.
Yeah. Chrissy?
Yeah, I got the opportunity to go work the booth at Celebrate Jordan, so that was really neat to get to meet some of the community members and stuff and see all the little kids. Tonight I got to go to my first golf event for my son. He's in 7th grade, and this is his first year of golf. So that was really cool to get to see the kids and stuff out there working. They didn't actually have like a competition, but they just kind of went around in circles and getting out on the course for the first time for some of them and stuff. So
great, good.
It's chilly, but it was fun to see.
I had a positive event yesterday at Celebrate Jordan Lawrence, and on this too, a young family that moved here from Eden Prairie, right?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
moved here because they heard how great our school district is.
Oh,
Mic drop.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool.
So,
Super cool.
and with that,
And we are awesome. So that's
we
good.
are.
Yeah.